It's a gorgeous Monday morning in the Finger Lakes. This is the Dog H. Weber with another edition of Weber This Week here on FingerLakes1.com. Hope you're all having a good morning. Hope you had a good weekend. Listen, I'm not a weatherman, but I'm going to tell you something. If you're into golf today and tomorrow, baby, looking like mid-60s tomorrow. My clubs are away for the year, unfortunately. I've put them to bed until next April. But all seriousness, the weather's going to be great today and tomorrow. Then the cold, that old Arctic vortex is coming down, and I understand in Jacksonville, Florida, probably by Thursday it's going to be like 25. So, hey, you know, those people that go to Florida early, they're going to join us because it's going to get real chilly after Tuesday of this week. So, good morning, everybody. Hope you all had a great weekend. Nice to be with you. We have a couple of special guests. Lorraine Withers is joining us this morning on the couch, along with Kathy Jans-Duffy. Ladies, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Well, good morning. Harold.
And it's great to see you guys. And the reason they're here, and we always talk about them being on the couch, that's where all our guests go. But I got to tell you something. It's a big doings. Of course, we all know. If you don't know, here's a bulletin for you. Seneca Falls, the Home of Women's Rights, National Hall of Fame, historical parks everywhere. I'm going to talk about a big doings that's coming up on this Wednesday, celebrating the 199th birthday of Elizabeth Cady Stanton. A lot of events going to take place involved with that this coming Wednesday, along with this weekend, especially on Saturday. And let's talk to Lorraine first off. And Lorraine, talk about your role as far as bringing the area to outside visitors, the importance of what Seneca Falls is all about and what people come to see here. There's a lot to go in Seneca Falls.
Oh, I don't even know where to begin, really. But I know that when people come to Seneca Falls, they're thrilled to be here. They really would like to engage in everything that we have to offer. They're never quite sure exactly where to start. So the Visitor Center, of course, is always a good place to start. And the National Park is just a treasure. But I think a treasure beyond even that is the Historical Society, where we have in the archives all kinds of stuff that's been collected since the 1880s. And if you'd like to see real documents, for instance, with the handwriting of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, we have the letters. If you'd like to see the handwriting of Amelia Bloomer, with which she wrote her temperance speeches, come to the Historical Society. So I'd like to think that when people come to Seneca Falls, even if they don't exactly know why they are in town when they come, by the time they leave, they'll be thrilled that they've stopped. That's true at the house, don't you think, Kathy? The people are really always glad that they've been.
They're blown away. They don't realize what we have, and once we start that tour, that walk through the house, with each room, they realize that we have so many items and so much history that they're just blown away when they leave. That's the fun part of the job.
It's kind of funny, you know, I was hearkening back. I've been a Seneca Falls guy most of my life, except for 5 years when we moved to Geneva after we got married to my wife, Mary. But I remember growing up in the 50s. I was born in 1945, but in the early 50s, 52, 53-ish probably, we used to play baseball and sandlot football, and it was behind the Cady Stanton School. However, I didn't realize, actually, how important that was at the time. We were just a bunch of kids, 7, 8, 9 years old, playing baseball, football, and little do I know that the school that we used to go behind, you know, is truly tied into a treasure. And it's just something that, as a young kid, I never realized it until I got obviously older to realize the importance of Seneca Falls. So I think, Kathy, let's talk about Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Her birthday is Wednesday. Would celebrate 199.
Yes, November 12th.
And, of course, big doings are going to take place. Give us a rundown, if you would, so we get this very clear about the events that are going to take place and the timing of these events, if you would, for our audience.
Sure. The Historical Society has been involved with this luncheon since the 194th birthday. And we've been gearing up for next year, which will be, of course, the 200th birthday. Our luncheon will be at the Gold at 11 o'clock. And it's going to be a very interesting talk. We have an author who's written the history of the Emma Willard School which is where Elizabeth Cady Stanton finished her education. It was very unusual for girls to be able to go on and have an education. So we'd like to tie that in with Stanton and her ideas of education and what women should know. And then after our luncheon, the National Park is also having a program where they will have Dr. Melinda Gruby portraying Elizabeth Cady Stanton.
And this is on Saturday.
This is all on Saturday.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
November 15th.
Okay.
So there's a lot involving Stanton on this Saturday, and I think that'd be a great reason to come to town. And if you don't know anything about Elizabeth Cady Stanton, this gets your feet wet. You get to learn a little bit.
Dr. Melinda Gruby, how long did it take her to play this role, and how did she get involved in it?
Oh, she's been doing it for at least 20 years that I know of. And she portrays Stanton all over the area. She gets right into character. It's like talking to Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And we've also had Stanton's great-great-granddaughter, Colleen Jenkins, is involved with some of these celebrations. And we're working with Johnstown, New York, which is where Stanton was born, and trying to coordinate Seneca Falls and Johnstown with the Stanton connection. So there's a lot that people can come and see.
So as far as getting to the luncheon, tickets available? Can they come and pay right then, or they
Yes, they
pre-order?
can pay at the door.
They can?
We would appreciate reservations. Good seats are still available, and I think it'll be a really nice luncheon. The Gould always does a great job with their luncheons. So
and that is true. As I mentioned before, my wife and myself went to the Trinity Church event at the Gould a couple weeks ago, and it was spectacular. Really well done.
yes, Sharon outdoes herself every time.
I want to get her on this show, but I understand she's shy and bashful. She likes to work behind the scenes. But I'm going to try, because I know her. I've seen her do her thing, and as a matter of fact, I mentioned to Jim one day I'd love to have her on the show. But they tell me she's not, she's sort of camera shy. She likes to do her thing behind the scenes. And I guess there's nothing wrong with that. So.
She does a great job.
Yeah, she does.
In front of the camera, behind, she's always very enthusiastic.
Lorraine Withers, along with Kathy Jans-Duffy, joining us here this morning on the show, Weber This Week. We hope that you are enjoying the conversation. Lorraine, let's go back to you. Again, being a Seneca Falls guy, I drive up and down Fall Street 50 times a day, maybe some days. And you drive by and you see these buses pull up. See these people get off the bus. And then a couple hours later, you see another bus come through town. It's got to make you feel good to know that people come from all over the world, literally, to visit Seneca Falls for the importance of why we are who we are and what has happened in this unbelievable town.
Yes, and yes again.
Yeah.
One of the things that's, I think, interesting to me about Elizabeth Cady Stanton and the other women who really, we've had outstanding women in Seneca Falls, perhaps forever, is how daring they've been. And really how gutsy in general, I think, the people of Seneca Falls have been. I'm not really a Seneca Fallian, but I think it's kind of gutsy that people had the daring to ask Dwight Eisenhower if they could name a college in his honor. I think it's pretty gutsy that when that didn't work, they found a way to have that campus used. I think that one of the remarkable things about the women is how daring they were. They were daring, really. Can you imagine? At the second most important tea party in American history, a group of ladies in Waterloo saying it's time to stop talking and time to start doing, putting an ad in the paper and saying we'll do it on Friday. And they did. They did.
I know.
They didn't ask anyone's permission. They just did.
Well, Kathy, certainly the woman's role is quite important. One thing that bothers me that I feel has been unfair forever, and that is the pay scale of the corporations. Basically, the inequity to me, having been in a corporate world, where in not all the cases, but in too many cases around the country, and I guess around the world, women should be paid equally to the men if they're doing the same work and they have the same background, the same education, and that's not there yet. And I know that's a big thing in Congress. I know the president talks about it, But to me, talk is cheap. In my mind, I think, and I'm not trying to get women's support to watch this show, but I always have believed if a woman can do the same work that a man can do, they should get the same pay. And I don't think that's the case in many corporations, even today. And I still think that's an inequity, which I hope before I'm gone, that is changed.
Yes, I know when I was in college, it was 69 cents that women earned per hour to $1 for a man.
Yeah, ridiculous.
It hasn't gone up a whole lot, and I won't tell you how long I've been out of college. It still isn't equal. No. And to me, it's a very simple thing. You do the job, you get paid. Yeah. There shouldn't be two tiers. There shouldn't be two levels of pay.
Totally agree with that.
I don't know why. Well, I guess I do know why it's taken Congress so long to do this. They're men.
Yeah, it's a male bastion. Lorraine?
Yeah, I want to break in and say that one of the things that was exciting was to be involved in a little shop that the Historical Society had on Fall Street. And one day, Lily Ledbetter came to shop, and it was her induction into the Hall of Fame and her being in Seneca Falls that generated in her an interest in the local women and their daring. But certainly she was too, because she was the one who really agitated for equal pay for women's work. And so the bill that was passed has her name, the Lily Ledbetter Fair Employment what's the name of the bill, Kathy? Fair something Act.
Fair Wage Act?
Yeah.
Well, only because I've been married to the same woman. I'll be 49 years in May.
Yes.
And I've always made the comment, and my wife is first to admit it, that behind every successful man is a woman making that happen, because they don't get enough credit for making that happen. What I find interesting, too, as we talked to Lorraine Withers along with Kathy Jans-Duffy, they're in to talk about the big doings. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, 199th birthday this coming Wednesday, the 12th, and big doings, and we'll go through the schedule events again. But what I find amazing, too, with politics, we just had the midterm elections. The Democrats got crushed, and now we have a situation in the country where, oh, my God, it's hard to fathom in my own Minders Academy mentality that it's potentially possible we get less done in this next 2 years than we did the last few. Because the problem is we have a Republican Congress, we have a Republican Senate controlled, and we have a Democratic president. And I just hope and pray for the country's sake that something happens to get something done. It's amazing to me that we get so little done. And I don't know if the Mitch McConnells and the John Boehners are going to get along with Obama. I don't know how that's all going to pan out. But my point is, in a little bit of a while, I guess down the road, maybe 6-8 months, a National Women's Hall of Fame inductee, Hillary Clinton, will be at the doorstep of maybe making her landmark decision to either run or not to run. And I'll be honest with you, I've always been a big fan of hers. I've always enjoyed her speeches when she's come to Seneca Falls. I just think that would be marvelous. And again, I know that women are saying, yeah, I think the country is ready for a woman president. Whether it be Hillary or not, I don't know. It'll be up to the voters of this country to decide. But talk about that, Kathy, as far as her potentiality of running for the highest office in this land.
Oh, undoubtedly. I think that it's time for a woman.
Yes.
We've seen what men can do.
Oh, God, only knows, yes.
We
have.
There are more women in Congress and in the Senate now than at any other time. So maybe that's your new coalition, is the women and what they might bring to the plate. It just isn't quite fair that we've kept to the back seat. It took us an awfully long time from 1848 to 1920 to get the vote. It's taken us a long time to get the people into Congress. Now let us do something.
Lorraine, comment about Hillary potentially running?
Oh, I'd love to see Hillary run. And even more than my being interested in having Hillary run is my enjoyment at seeing my son think that Hillary has the kind of experience that the country needs. Whether she's a woman or not really is secondary to the fact that she's had so much experience and so much front seat exposure to the levers of power and how to operate them.
Yeah, I enjoy a new show that's on TV now, Madam Secretary. It's a new one.
Yep.
It's really a good show, and kind of shows the inner workings of the White House versus the various high offices. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hillary's, and I will go on record right now and say if she runs, got my vote. I've always been impressed by her. And of course, as we all know, with the 24-hour, Jim certainly can speak to this, the 24-hour cable cycle that we currently are in now, whereas they just keep burying people and crushing people. And if you, God forsake, run for a public office, they go back and check when you were 3 years old up till your current age and any baggage that you may have. And that's a tough road. I guess Hillary is probably well suited for that. I mean, her family's been hammered over the years, or certainly her husband has, and I'm sure Hillary is too. But I don't know where you draw the line. As I mentioned, and it has nothing to do with you two guys sitting on the couch, what really irritates me is just what happened this past, well, the election finally is over, thank God. I get irritated by the negativity of the ads as we led up to the midterms. I really get tired of the catcos taking shots at the Maffeis and the Maffeis coming back taking shots. I mean, just nonstop. And it was every minute and a half on TV, the ads that are just so negative. And I don't know about you two. I'm not about to try to guess your opinion of this. Give me your pamphlet, stand up in front of me, and tell me what you stand for once.
Yeah.
And please, don't tell me by running ads every 4 minutes for 2 months or a month and a half trying to bury your opponent. That turns me off, and it really upset me, and I know it's part of the system, and I hate it. That's one part of the political system that I cannot stand. You know.
Yes.
You know.
Tell me what you want to do.
Bingo.
Give me a platform.
Exactly.
And then I can decide which of these things I want to have done.
Bingo.
And don't tell me what the other guy did wrong.
Exactly.
I can read what he did wrong.
Oh, and some of the ads are brutal.
They are. Who cares?
I don't either.
And I think it's also time for our government to put on their big boy pants.
Yep.
And work on a compromise.
Yes, get some things done.
Get something done. In a compromise, neither side wins. You both have hurt feelings, but something gets done.
Right.
And go forward.
Lorraine Withers and Kathy Jans-Duffy are joining us. We're going to now take our break and come back and listen to our great sponsors to make this show possible. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about a few sports items, and then we'll go back to Lorraine and to Kathy about what's happening this week here on Weber This Week. Stay with us. Eagle Lake National Bank. Bill Ryan and his team for all of your banking needs. Offices in Union Springs and Aurora. A fine sponsor of this show for over 30 years. DA Liquor, Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her great team will find that right spirit for you every time. Tell Amy the dog sent you. Steve Wadhams, Wadhams Enterprises, your employer of choice. Proud supporter of this show and local athletics. Bob and Leslie Ullman, owners of the Ullman Theater in Lyons, as well as the Newark Pilots, a minor league baseball team with a major league ballpark. Lizard's Tailgater Lounge, Waterloo, best mott sticks around where you can enjoy a drink and some laughs. SenecaFallsCountryClub.com, awesome 18-hole layout, offering a 12-month payment plan. Home of the toughest par 4 in central New York. Wilson Press, WPress.com. Seneca Falls, Rich Ricky, my good friend, and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Rich Ricky, a fine sponsor of Weber This Week. Welcome back, everybody. It's a Dog with you, H. Weber, with Weber This Week. Kathy Jans-Duffy along with Lorraine Withers talking about big doings this week. Elizabeth Cady Stanton celebrating 199 this coming Wednesday. By the way, upcoming shows on this program, upcoming guests, I should say, coming up on the show. We're going to run through that table. We have coming up next week, a week from today, we're going to have Dennis Money. I love that name. Dennis, you have any money? Just kidding. Dennis Money and Steve Churchill, a board of supervisor, of course, good friend of mine. We'll be in talking about why can't we turn the Seneca Army Depot into a USA destination? Like, hotels, restaurants, see the white deer. What's holding all that up? What's the story with the Seneca Army Depot? A lot of press, a lot of letters to the editor. We'll get to the source next week, talking to Dennis Money and Steve Churchill about when that's going to get off the track or what's going to happen with the Seneca Army Depot as we move forward. And, of course, in a couple of weeks, we'll have Jeff Rook as we get Thanksgiving week. We'll be talking about It's a Wonderful Life 5K run, a phenomenal event that is run, obviously, sometime in December, right, Jimmy? What's the date on? Like in December something, right? Yeah.
I think it's the second Saturday.
Second Saturday of December. It's a huge event, huge event. There are people from all over the country come and run in this thing. It's a Wonderful Life, as the Gould Hotel switches their hats. I love that. And, of course, on December 1st, a guy that I wanted to interview and talk to on this show for at least a couple of years since I've been with Jim, Dave Shaw, been reporting the news for, my God, I bet 3 decades. And, of course, a lot of it's Indian issues. And, of course, Dave Shaw will be my special guest on December the 1st. So if you'd like to come on our program, very simply, let us know that you would like to come on. Tell us a little bit about your topic, and we'll try to give you a date that works for you and works for me and our studios. And, again, the way it works is we can allow 2 people to come in as Kathy and Lorraine will testify. They're on the couch, and we'll talk about your topic, and we'll have a lot of fun, and it's not pressure-packed. We have a lot of fun. Any topic is open game. Let us know, and we'll be more than glad to bring you in as part of Weber this week. So we hope that you will check us out. Jimmy, let's talk a little bit couple of sports before we go back into the ladies. I know you're not happy about the Syracuse football program success or lack thereof this year. It's a tough year. Obviously now it's documented they're not going to be going bowling. Just a tough year in general, and I certainly think that it's time to regroup. Got to regroup.
Yeah, well, basketball season starts Friday.
Bingo.
Opening game of basketball
that's right.
season. And they have an exhibition game tonight.
Yeah.
So that'll take your mind off it. But, you know,
Tough
you're
year.
rebuilding a program.
Yep.
They've been the seniors on this year's team will have been in 3 bowl games.
Right.
You know, they had a lot of injuries.
Yep.
You know, it's tough. But
is tough.
I feel bad for Schaefer. I think we had a good team coming in, and the injuries kind of racked up a few bad breaks here and there. But it really hurts not being able to practice with the team throughout December into the bowl season. So they'll have to wait till spring practice once their season ends. They got 2 more games left.
Yep.
Simply for pride.
There you go. Well, of course, if you're a Bills fan, of course, I've never been a Bills fan, but that's why I got to be honest with you, folks. They're leading 13-3 at home yesterday. How do you lose that game? Place is going crazy. Kansas City pulls it out. Doug Marrone under a lot of heat this morning for a call that he made. Down by 4 with 2 minutes to go. Chip shot field goal gets them to within 1. Their defense was playing great except for a couple of runs by Charles. A lot of the second guessers are out there now in Western New York saying he should have kicked the field goal. The defense was playing phenomenal. They had 2 timeouts, plus they had a 2-minute stoppage. A lot of heat on Doug Marrone this morning. Of course, I'm guessing he's getting used to it. And, of course, the Bills lose a game where they should have won the game. You're leading 13-3. You're controlling the tempo of that football game. You walk off losing. And now, of course, their record is 5-4, and they got to go right back on a jet to go to Miami Thursday night, as that's a Thursday night football game. Tough
Marrone
loss.
should have kicked the
loss.
field goal, but it was
yeah.
the fumble by Leotis McKelvin
totally agree.
that just turned everything
Totally
around.
agree.
So again, that's
Yep.
that's how it works in the NFL. You got to protect the football. If not, in a close game, you're going to lose.
I talked to somebody last night, and matter of fact, we were playing a little poker, and they said, and he's been a Bills fan all his life, and he's thinking about jumping teams. And the comment that I had made is, I've been making it up for a long time, good teams find a way to win. Bad teams find a way to lose. I'll leave it at that.
The Bills have still won more than they lost this year. They're 5-4.
They're hanging on,
and,
baby.
Looking for a first playoff appearance in 15 years, 14 years.
14 years. By the way, congratulations goes out to our local Red Jacket team out in the old Manchester, Shortsville area. They're going to be playing the Class D Finals. They're going to be playing at the All-High Stadium in Buffalo, New York, this coming Friday, 5 o'clock start time against Randolph. Again, Red Jacket, phenomenal football year, playing Randolph, 5 o'clock at the All-High Stadium in Buffalo, New York. And, of course, there's a young Mr. Knapp coaching in that team.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, one of the assistants. So we welcome them, and we wish them the best of luck.
And Victor also won.
There you go, Victor, yeah.
Sectional.
And tough loss for Michigan State. Big build-up on Saturday night. They ran flat. Ohio State surprisingly beat them at Michigan State. All the observers thought that was going to be. And as far as Notre Dame, I don't know what's going on with Notre Dame in the defense. Charlie Schaefer might be turning back his Notre Dame diploma today. I don't know. I mean, they give up 39 to Navy, and I love the Navy, but 39, and then they give up 60 to Arizona State. Yeah. Where's the defense? But the Irish are really.
Well, they've finally been exposed. They've been acting like they're going to be a national champion contenders. Yeah. They're just not that good.
Not there, no. But a couple of sports items, and we get back to our guest and Lorraine Withers along with Kathy Jans-Duffy. It's great to have them spend a half an hour with us or so here on Weber This Week. Kathy, let's run through the program. Let's talk about the big dates and the events and the times. Make sure that our viewers are checking it out. Wednesday's the big day for the birthday, but Saturday's the big day for the various events.
Yes, all of the celebrating will be on Saturday. We start with our luncheon at 11 o'clock at the Gould, and that's $30 a person. Mm-hmm. There are still some reservations available. You can call the Historical Society, 568-8412, and make a reservation. You can pay at the door. And then at 1 o'clock, the National Park is having their program with Dr. Melinda Gruby, who will be portraying Elizabeth Cady Stanton. So you can have a party, you can go see Elizabeth. It's going to be a great weekend.
Let me ask you, as we wrap up, and we only got a couple minutes left, but Lorraine, why don't you take this up? As you look at Seneca Falls, the Hall of Fame, and the various parks and the various historic places, is there anything that we're missing in the town of Seneca Falls? I know the Hall of Fame is being renovated. Sooner or later we'll get something. Is there something that you want to see happen that hasn't happened, or are you pretty happy where we currently are to honor our Seneca Falls heritage?
Oh, Harold, because I mentioned it earlier,
yep,
that I really would love to see better signage in town to direct people who come.
Perfect.
I have a line that goes like this. When people go to Skinny Atlas, they know why they're there. They're there to have lunch and to shop. People come to Seneca Falls and they know they should be here, but they're not quite sure what they should be doing. We really need to do a better job, I think, of directing them so that they really leave town fulfilled and happy that they stopped. We're really the gateway. In the early 1800s, we were the gateway. We were the new America. Our canal predates the Erie. We have endless exciting things that happened in town. We'd like to have people leave feeling that excitement.
Kathy, you would testimony and jump on that line as well.
Oh, yes.
Signage.
Yeah, signage. And I would love it if everybody in town knew what happened here. When a visitor comes and says, why am I here? What happened? Somebody can just say, oh, women's rights, gold pumps, industry. We were the Silicon Valley of the 1840s. This was a happening place.
The story, take them to the Van Cleef Lake and explain the story of the flats, how that used to be all the houses that had to be brought up.
There were a whole community. I have had people ask if they could take the underwater tour of Seneca Falls. And I've had to explain to them that the water's pretty murky and you aren't going to see anything.
The other thing that I think is important is, as time goes on, I think it's difficult for children, our kids, school kids in this generation, to realize what it meant for women not to be able to vote back in, what was kind of modern times. This wasn't colonial times when women couldn't vote. This was in the industrial age.
This was my grandmother.
Yeah, so she couldn't vote.
And couldn't vote until 1920.
Amazing.
So, I think that it hit home. It hits home when you look at some old propaganda from back in the early 1900s that says, it might be someone, a male group saying, this is ridiculous that we would even think women should vote. The man votes, and so it's the same vote as the woman, so what's the point? I mean, there's propaganda like that if you read it today, it's just, you just can't believe it. So I think that a lot of people, my daughter, I have a 9-year-old daughter, I want her to understand what happened in Seneca Falls and why it was important and what it could have been. Look, women would have gained the right to vote eventually along the way, but it had to start somewhere. And the women like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who initiated the push for women's suffrage, really were fighting an uphill battle. And so we're very lucky that all happened here. And I still think Seneca Falls can be a a beacon for change as for women's issues worldwide. And so I think that's a niche that we're maybe missing out a little bit.
A gutsy, daring community.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lorraine, and thank you very much for joining us. Kathy, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having us. It's been really a great time.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, it wouldn't be myself if I didn't have a quick comment about something that really irritates me. A lot of things irritate me in this world, but some things really irritate me. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and everyone's making a big deal of it. I get tired of that because it's not just one day that we should be honoring the veterans. You know, as I approach my 70th birthday, God willing, next April, I tried to get in the Air Force when I was 18, 19, and I had a bad right eye with a freak accident when I was 7. I went through the physical. They were yelling at me, the Marine was, because he thought I was lying to him when he said I couldn't read the certain thing on the wall. But I had to slip from my eye doctor. Bottom line is, they said, get ready, you're going in. I enlisted. I wanted to get in the Air Force. The reason I wanted to get in the Air Force, my brother Bob was in there, and I loved his uniform. Believe it or not. Well, I didn't make it. They wouldn't take me because of my eye problem. But you know, I get so tired of people saying Mother's Day is recognized one day a year. Father's Day is one. No. Let's honor these folks and your mom and your dad every day. Veterans, are you kidding me? I get so upset when I hear it's tomorrow. I know it's a day, but let's shake hands and go up them, pat them on the back. Women, men, anybody who served this country, anybody who has really fought for our freedoms. I mean, are we really thinking about it being a day? I don't think so. I worked at the Thruway in the booth collecting money for 18 months, and I made it a purpose of life for me. Anytime somebody would come through with a uniform on, I don't care if there was 100 cars behind them, I would shake their hand, thank them for their service. So what I'm asking you to do as I wrap up my show, thank anybody currently in the service, that was in the service, shake their hand and say thank you for making this country as great as it is. Thank you very much, Lorraine. Thank you very much, Kathy. Hope to have you back.
Thank you,
Thank
Gerald.
you. Love
All
to
right.
come back.
Thank you very much. Next week, Dennis Money, along with Steve Churchill, we're talking Seneca Army Depot. Don't forget, folks, high school basketball on Finger Lakes 1 will start on the 29th of November at the New York Chiropractic College. We'll be opening up with a doubleheader. Looking forward to doing that coverage. Take care, everybody. That's a look at Weber this week. My way.
Good grief, it's hard to talk and make sense.
Support great local content like this by becoming a patron of FingerLakes1.com. Visit patreon.com/FL1.
FingerLakes1.com